called. Another match point.
Incredible third set here.
They changed their strategy a little bit and they fought their way back in.
There it is. Game, set, and match.
Featuring Flor Hanisch and Anna Zubori up against B. Lopez and Taya Page. Welcome, Steve.
Patty, thank you. Really excited for this final. We may have had a little bit or a big bit of an upset coming in. Page and Lopez, who are in the near court wearing pink. We have Page in the ad court and Lopez in the deuce. You can see them behind the graphic here, are going to face off against Hanisch and Zubori. Yeah, it's been a really good day of paddle at Larendale. This is the women's final. It's a one-day event. They're going to play best 2 out of 3 sets, full ad scoring. The men have been playing no ad. Women are playing ad all the way through. So this is match 3 or 4 for these both these teams, and it's it's expected to be a really exciting final.
Yeah, and Steve, you can see the team who originated the matching outfits on the current APTA tour. Flor Hanisch and Anna Zubori. And, you know, their outfits look so good that Lopez and Page decided if they're going to make a run at a national title this year, they think they should copy them, the matching team from the other side. Only joking about all that. They all look great out there, and they're both totally committed to each other. Really great partnerships. Hanisch and Zubori, 2-time national champs together, the cream of the crop in our sport. Along with Burris and Elliott, our 2-time defending, national champions, but they were the upstart team of Lopez and Page. You know, kind of a shocker to some in the other semifinals, Steve. I listened to your call on it a little bit. Why don't you tell us what happened in that match?
Yeah, a really interesting matchup. You mentioned Lynn Burris and Macy Elliott, really big favorites. They're national champions. They are multi-tour event champions. I think a lot of people were waiting for the matchup of them to face off against Zubori and Hanisch, but all the credit goes to Lopez and Page. They came in really hot. They may have caught the other team, Elliott and Burris, off guard, and it was a lot of offense. I mean, unbelievable racket skills. Big ground strokes. I think what we're going to see in this matchup is the team in pink is going to be swinging away from the ground. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they can find, Hanisch and Zubori, find the weak spots, find the areas where these two cannot really swing away from the baseline. They have really big firepower. So that's sort of what happened. I think they started out fast in the semis. They maintained a dogfight through the second set and held on for a 7-5 victory when some people thought the momentum was changing, and all the credit goes to them. This is going to be a really exciting offensive match, I think, from a lot of respects.
Sure, and on the other side of the draw, in the semifinals, we saw Hanisch Zubori take out Morgan and Sakura, and in that match, it was interesting. I felt like Morgan Sakura came out a little flat in that match, and I didn't know what to expect of Hanisch and Zubori, other than that they're always great, but I didn't know, their first tournament match of the year that I've seen, that they jumped in, and they were so solid.
Am I right?
Steve,
You
listen to our umpire. Steve, who's our umpire?
We have Caitlin Gibson in the chair today, local member at the Larendale Club.
Florentina Hanisch, and her partner Anna Zubori in the deuce score. Zubori and Hanisch, the serving first.
So Steve, Hanisch Zubori, so solid in that semifinal win over Morgan and Sakura. Let's take a quick look at the draw maybe before we get underway. Well, we'll talk about it actually. Oh, here we go, Steve. Want to go through it quickly?
Yeah, so it was this 16 draw, two buys, played a little bit to what we expected to get in the semifinals. There's some interesting quarterfinal matches. Delmonico Gebbia, it was a bit of a one-sided match, but it was pretty competitive in the quarterfinals. And you can see what we talked about before, this Burris Elliott, #1 seed, national champions sort of coming in, a lot of people watching them and looking to them to make it to the finals. And Lopez and Pejic sort of caught him off guard with a lot of offense. You mentioned Morgan and Sakura, the defending champions of the Baltimore Open, so a lot of people remember them fondly through a lot of exciting matches last year. Morgan and Sakura actually beat Hanisch and Zubori in the semis last year, if I'm not mistaken, or no, in the finals. So yeah, it's a great event. A lot of the top teams have come. We're at week 3 in the APTA Tour. Next week, Chicago Charity. So the season started off quickly, and a lot of excitement. There's a really big crowd starting to build around the Larendale Club. I would say this women's final crowd is probably the busiest we've seen it all day. And there's a couple different spots where crowds are forming. But it's really good energy, really good momentum. I expect a lot of not only firepower on the court, but I think the crowd's going to be well positioned to show their effort, their support for sure.
So I was thinking about this match, and we talked briefly before we came on. I said, if I had $1 million, I'd bet on Hanisch Zubori to win this. If I had 1,000 and you gave me 100-to-1 odds, I'd take Lopez Pejic.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's obviously, this is a very social sport. It's a very fun sport. This is the pinnacle of our sport. It's really competitive. Zubori and Hanisch are really incredible competitors. They want to win, but you could argue, Patty, there's a little bit of a pressure setting up for this match. They're expected to win. They're probably thinking all week about a rematch, another big face-off against Burrish and Elliott, and it didn't happen. So now they got to sort of reprogram themselves, rethink about what does this matchup look like. They're not getting this look every week like they might know what to expect. So let's see what we got. We have Tia Pejic to serve.
When we started the season, and I saw that B. Lopez and had teamed up with Taya here, Steve. And I talked to both of them at the beginning of the season. They're so excited about the season. They have so much confidence in each other's abilities. Lopez coming into this with a lot of confidence. She won mixed nationals last year with Alvi Regalado. And Taya Pejic kind of has been around the game on and off for a couple of years. Graduated University of Nevada, got her master's, and came back to playing last year a little bit. And I actually look for them to get themselves into the top 4. I think, one more tournament. They played Montclair, went out in the semis, lost there to Alexander and Elliott. But I think that they have huge upside, huge firepower. And I think they know how to build points, Steve. When I watch them as a young team together, and I watched some of that prior match that you were calling, they know how to play the game. They know how to work the points, and they don't give away a lot early in points, which bodes well for them to be able to, as we know, you've got to get yourselves deep into these points if you're the underdog, especially, and in their first final together on the APTA Tour.
And just to make sure everyone's paying attention, this is still the first point, right? So a little bit of a loose forehand there, but that's a very patient point. They have the offense. They're going to be very selective. I think you're right. The paddle IQ, even the last 3 matches they've played today, I've seen them play a little bit of each of their matches, Lopez and Pejic, and it seems like they're sort of getting more comfortable. Like you said, constructing the points, being thoughtful about where they're positioning their balls, defense, offense. That bodes well. If they can get to 20, 30 balls in the point, and they have the offensive power, there should be some exciting paddle ahead of us tonight.
Steve, if my intel is right, I think we've got this is a big birthday week. I think today, shout out to Ann Sheedy, APTA Executive Director. I think it could be her birthday today. I could be wrong, but
I think
happy
you're right.
birthday, Ann.
I think you might be right.
Macy Elliott had a birthday this week. Happy birthday to Macy.
So not only do Hanisch and Zubori, really lead the tour in matching outfits, they now have custom, it looks like custom Xenon paddles. I think I saw some social media promotion of these new paddles that they have that they brought out in one of their preseason camps. But yeah, this is a little bit, we're starting to see it a little bit on the men as well, but yeah, all the way to the paddles.
30 all.
I had an opportunity to talk to Hanisch and Zubori just for a minute, a little while ago, Steve, and I said, "What do you guys think?" And they said, "Just make sure that everyone knows we started the matching outfit craze, and what we're going to look for." They practiced yesterday with this team. They're all four are real familiar with each other, and I think it's kind of a typical puzzle piece that Hanisch and Zubori will go in this match in terms of they'll look to take advantage of the positioning of the net play and the communication between those players. I think I'll see Hanisch in particular lob a lot of balls into the middle of the court, as well as Zubori, but Hanisch seems to get a ton more opportunities for that lob from that deuce court. And I think they'll constantly test the movement, communication, shot selection of Lopez and Pejic at the net, and I think that's what the match will come down to.
There's a big Zubori swinging forehand volley, and we've seen this shot in the first few weeks of the APTA Tour season. It's really difficult to defend against. You got to first get out of the way, not get hit off the ground, and then you got to chase it back to the net. It's a bit of a warm day. I think we're in the mid-60s, but it's playing cooler than that with some wind. But Zubori just absolutely blistered that forehand swinging volley.
And that's a big thing, Steve. When there's short lobs at the top level in the game, you don't see people hitting flat, side back screens at that point. They're going with the rollers or the slashes, the sliders. They're putting a lot of spin on the ball. Stephen, you see in the women's game, there's probably 6 women who have that really heavy roller that is a game changer that opens up the court for them in the match. And it seems like to be a great team in the game now, one of the partners needs to have that heavy roller to open up the court.
Yeah, it's another element of variation, right? Giving the baseline team a different look, a different spin, a different height. And I think you're right. There's so much opportunity to move it off, back to side to back. And all 4 of these players have this shot, so it should be interesting at how much we see them trying to sort of strategically decide which side of the court they're playing. But I think this is going to be a big shot today. Oh, the tweener.
We knew if it was Zubori, we'd see a tweener. Hey, Steve, before we go too deep, let's just one more time. I'd like to give a special shout out to our sponsors. Our tour presenting sponsors, Volley and Corian. Their participation in the APTA and their sponsorship is allowing APTA to grow and do so many great things for our sport. But in addition, local tournament support is always so key, and we want to thank all the local sponsors, which include the Host Club, the Larendale Club, M4 Paddle, MDF Insurance, Ripple Branding, the Seed School of Maryland, Stiefel, T. Rowe Price, Willpower PT, and Xenon Paddle.
Yeah, great acknowledgement. This tournament, Sam Byram and the broader tournament committee in Baltimore, Nobu Tanaka as well. This is the second year. A huge effort for fundraising, getting local support. And at the end of the day for Baltimore, it's really about bringing the best of the best talent into the city, getting exposure. It's an investment in our paddle community. We have a lot of growth going on. And the sponsors are really the ones that make it happen, through prize money, through all the extra support we can, in the players. It's really great to see, and this is a goal of this tournament committee to really put on the best event of the season, albeit the Grand Prix are a step above, but Baltimore so far, the sophomore season of this tournament's been a great success.
Great shot of Anna Zubori, who will be serving. Great hold for Pejic to start this match for Lopez. Pejic, Steve. As I've said many times, you watch Hanisch and Zubori, and they're great front runners in matches, and I think for teams to be competitive against them, if they are underdogs, let's call it, the key is to keep it close in the beginning, and really, really rock solid first game from Lopez and Pejic.
Yeah, if the first game jitters were to be expected, it would be from Pejic and Lopez, and here you go, they're up 1-0.
Love 15.
Great touch. That waterfall is very, very tricky, and it's a warm paddle day. Even though it's playing a little cooler than that, it's a warm paddle day. If you can get the touch on that waterfall right, Pejic was on her knees trying to dig that one out.
Steve, can you name the team in the women's draw who are the longest standing partnership in our sport? I'll give you a clue. They're from that area, sort of.
Oh, is it Lauren Zink and Pendergast?
Cindy Prendergast and Lauren Zink.
There you go. I got it. I think this might be the first of your tests that I passed, so I'm feeling pretty good.
All right, Steve.
They are playing. The match already happened. I'll have to look at the draw, but they played one of our local teams of Jen Barta and Jessica Farrell, two of our top women's players in Baltimore, in the finals of the Constellation, I believe.
Yeah, Zink and Prendergast, outstanding competitors, some of the greatest in our sport ever, and they're enjoying listening in. Shout out to Milbury Jacobs. She always loves the live stream. Steve, it's interesting. Morgan Sikora, when they were playing Hanisch Zubori, I just got a feeling at the net they were almost too worried about particularly Zubori over in the ad court, where I feel like in this match, the women in pink, like they have no fear, and that's the great quality about them. They just think they are so confident in their racket skills, their ability to match up against the pressure that Zubori in particular can apply from that ad court, that they're willing to go right at her. So that's going to be a fascinating thing as this match develops here.
I think you're right. A lot of confidence from the team in pink, and the reality is they have the racket skills. They may not have the experience yet. They may be a newer team and trying to still figure out how they gel, and there are definitely some matches where Burris and Elliott may have tried some one-handed, one-sided strategy against Zubori and Hanisch and really worked the deuce court. So far, I think you're right. There's no clear, we're going to play this side, we're going to play this strategy. They're sort of playing straight up.
And I think they feel confident with their volleys, so much so that they'll go to the strength of Zubori, where most people will avoid it at all costs.
What hands. Great volley.
Zubori, Hanisch, tied at 1 game all in the first set.
Hanisch and Zubori have picked a couple of nice spots. They've hit some winners off some really off-speed type of touch overheads into the screens, and that's the only place where, like, Pejic didn't play last year, where I would think she would be a little bit vulnerable, and I think they're capitalizing on her screenplay a little bit off of the short lobs. So I think they've got to keep their lobs up a little bit more to avoid those touch winners that Zubori and Hanisch will just, they'll do over and over.
Yeah, they have the
Good
ability to
shot.
just sort of dissect, identify the weakness, and dissect it, right? As the match goes on, I think you're right. They're gonna find something that works, and then they're gonna go at it and add it. So a little bit indecisive on who's taking that ball down the middle. You can hear the good communication, but that should be Taya's ball in most cases with her forehand down the center.
Well, they play their system of playing coverage at the net is a little different than some teams. A little bit like Regalado and Salazar in that you don't see dramatic shifts from side to side of the court. They kind of stand there in their equal opportunity. They play their forehand. They play their backhand volleys. Much more so than some of the women's teams. I mean, but they have such athleticism and anticipation, and you can just see they have such a sense of the game, even though they've not played a million tournaments together. They know how the points are going. They know how to cover for each other, and their coverage for each other is effortless, really. And because Lopez played all last year, won mixed nationals, I feel like she's such a solid sense of the game here, and playing the points, hitting smart shots. That I kind of like her to be the left of the two players at the net for their team here in this match.
I agree. I actually see some paddle IQ from B. Lopez since last season. I think I saw her play a few times with Liz Cruz. Was that her main partner last year?
Yep.
And they had all the skills and maybe not enough of the patience. And, I think Liz Cruz had a lot of experience, and I sort of saw B. Lopez growing through last season. But this season, I think you're right, maybe through mixed nationals, training a little bit with Alvy perhaps. I see a different level of point construction, patience. I think confidence. She knows she has the shot, but doesn't need to use the shot until she really has that opportunity. So it's really exciting. I think you're right. This could not only be a top 4 team, but here they are, week number 3 of the tour, competing for a championship.
Right, and the fact that they took out our defending national champs, it would put them
there you go,
where you could realistically say they have a shot to win the national championship in March. I mean, we're a long way from there, but that's how good they are. I think another difference is when the style of play Liz Cruz has versus Taya Pejic, they're very different kinds of players. And I think Lopez doesn't have as much pressure on her drives, let's say, because she knows that Pejic is going to get a ton of looks herself. And right there you saw it. There's pressure from every spot. You don't see that many safe spots against Lopez and Pejic when they're on the baseline.
Yeah, she really constructed that point, pushed Zubori over to cover that, down the middle forehand overhead, and that one lob that Hanisch slid back for, just Pejic took the opportunity to slid her way naturally into the net. Really solid play. The first of many mini conferences. I think both teams are really working on, how to work their way into this first set, through this first set. Hanisch and Zubori are clearly trying to make sure they're clear on where are they targeting, what are the sections of the court, are there weak spots. I think you're right, Patty, there aren't a lot of weak spots.
15 all.
Just back of the line on that serve. Florentina
Great
Hanisch
camera.
serving here.
Yeah, and great shot of Flor Hanisch. Jake and the team are doing a great job of, I love these camera angles, couple different shots for the fans at home.
30.
Get a real feel for, the players and like the feeling of the match. I love this close-up shot.
Stay there. You.
Steven, Lopez and Page, they took out Delmonico and Gebbia today in the quarters. And, Delmonico Gebbia, they've been a team for 15 years, almost as long as Zink and Prendergast. Not quite. And Lopez, the firepower that Lopez and Page had just was a little too much for Delmonico Gebbia to handle. And that's what just, told me a lot about them as a team, that they had such a solid victory in the quarters over them.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of it. I think they were on court 5 here at the Larendale Club for the quarterfinal match. And you're right. It was sort of surprising to see the ultimate score, but it was a lot of firepower. They just had a little too much in every point.
40.
And they've been playing with confidence, right? And if you have momentum, you have confidence, you're playing freely, the sky's the limit. And that's what happened in that match for sure.
Yeah, you can see Paige over in that corner, a little bit of a struggle. They're going to go after her there because she's trying to decide, and with this temperature, it's still on the warm side. When do you block and when do you let the ball go in the corner? And I think that's going to be a key in this match. But I think the more looks she gets and the more difficult screens she gets, she'll just keep getting better and better. She just has to get used to the spins that she's seeing against that Zubori and Hanisch have. And Steve, one of the things you just saw right there, Hanisch did a great job defending 2 drives. Here you go, Lopez and Page building the point again, going back to the lobbing until they get the right look for the drive. And when they make their, when they attempt their drive, Steve, I don't know, you called their semi, they make an extraordinarily high amount of their drives. I don't see they hit their drives as all or nothing. They hit them to make the other team come up with a volley.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between not the average club player, but the lower level player and the pinnacle of the game. They have the shot. They just don't need to generate 100% to make it incredibly effective, right? Their 70, 80% ground stroke is offensive. It can generate a transition. And yeah, Page and Lopez are very selective. They just missed. They have the shot, but their 80, 85% pace shot is incredibly effective, and the odds of making it are much higher.
I just feel like so many times at the club level, you get the ball of life, like the short volley or the short overhead, and then they just go 100 miles an hour, and the point's gonna end one way or the other. Where you can tell with Lopez and Page, they have the mentality of drive to force in a volley. It's not going to be a winner. If you get an error, great.
Yeah, my college coach used to call it combination tennis, right? You hit the pass looking for the short ball on the next one. It's not the one shot to win the point, hit it to win it on the third or the fourth shot and sort of construct the opportunity. And, here they are here with another break point. The nick, as we call it, the bell, saved the day there, but a really patient game, and they had a few break opportunities and capitalized on that one.
So Paige Lopez up 3-1 first set, women's finals from the Baltimore Open.
15. Love 30.
So you can see, Patty, I think I mentioned before, I think we're mid-60s. It's probably closer to 60 degrees. A little windy, feels a little cooler, like a early fall day. But so the ball's a little hot. That normal, side top spin serve, you could sort of see Hanisch just took her time, let it come off the screen, and immediately takes over the net. So it's, we're not seeing a lot of underhand serves on men or women today, and a little bit of some people are bringing out the push serve, but it's really a receiver's advantage, especially in the warmer weather.
See, Lopez is doing a great job over there in that ad court right now, Steve. And
Yep.
there's another play. She's so, because, winning mixed nationals, she saw the game's best overheads and every kind of spin possible. And you can see how she is really content. Set her paddle low, open, sets it early, and then just waits. Great, phenomenal point for her over in that, building that point from that ad court. Defended, 8 or 9 of those spin overheads beautifully, and then got the look she wanted where she could then, take a real swing with her two-handed backhand.
Huge backhand, but I think it's still an 80, 90, not even 90% pace shot. It's just the right shot. She caught Zubori and Hanisch a little bit on their heels, maybe a step or two off the net of where they should have been, but very patient to wait for that ball.
Well, if I'm Lopez and Paige, I'm thinking we got to keep Lopez over in that ad court.
Right. So this is the choice. Obviously, they're serving this game. I think you may have, identified an interesting opportunity. Let's see how the first set goes. But if there was ever a need to change things up, that could be one of the things that Paige and Lopez look at. Is B. Lopez the better ad court defender coming out of that corner?
Yeah, and I'm not saying we either wait till the end of the set, but I just think calling some switches in the middle of points would do. That would be really good. I think Zubori and Hanisch are totally comfortable with Paige over in that ad court corner. Not totally comfortable with Lopez in that ad court corner. And Steve, you had a lot of blitzing in the match. Burris and Elliott got into the match because they blitzed, I heard you say a couple times in that second set, and really kind of changed that matchup a little bit. And we just saw it from Hanisch right there, kind of looking for her lobbing, and that's what they said they were going to look to do, test the communication. And we know Hanisch loves making that move. She won't do it too often, but she's a brilliant blitzer in that she'll pick the right time and the place. And usually she can win a point that way.
Game. Zubori, Hanisch. Lopez, Paige lead 3-2 in the first set.
Get ready to take your training to the next level with Serve and Volley, the world's first responsive play drill. Volley's new AI-powered feature mimics real game conditions, tracking your core position and returning every serve just like the real thing. It's the ultimate way to sharpen your platform tennis skills with targeted practice. Try Serve and Volley today on the Volley Racket app and experience the future of training. Get Volley today at getvolley.com. Another shout out to the local Baltimore Open sponsors this year. some of them like Stiefel, T. Rowe Price, Xenon have been with us a couple years, and to put on an event like this, it really takes a lot of community support, and super appreciative to all these companies that really are trying to help us grow the game of paddle in Baltimore.
That's Anna Zubori serving down 2-3 in the first set, women's final from the Larendale Club. Steve, what are the other clubs in this area? And you've got new paddle courts coming in as well?
Yeah, so I am a member of the Roll and Run Club. We were one of the host sites this morning, 3 of the first round men's matches, and then some of the back draw we hosted. We have 3 paddle courts today. We are really excited installing 3 new paddle courts. We're going to have 6. We'll really be the, besides Larendale, the second biggest club as far as number of courts. And the good news for us is it's completely demand driven. We have an amazing paddle membership, men and women, the most or second most number of inter-club teams across the Baltimore paddle community. So it's really, it's exciting for me since Roll and Run is my home club, also a club where I grew up playing quite a bit of tennis. But the dynamics of what we're doing at that club from pickle and paddle are really, really exciting. And paddle's certainly overtaken tennis as the thing, both men and women want to play. So it's really exciting.
Steve, how much history do you know about the Larendale Club?
I know a little bit. I grew up for the most part, though, lived in Darien as a younger person, but most of my childhood I spent in the Baltimore area playing tennis. So personally, I have some, may not be the history, but I have a feeling you have a question or some history that you want to share with me.
I think it's time for a true or false.
All right, here we go. Let me have it.
1872, true or false, the Larendale Boat Club was
the year.
That's
the
first,
year is true. Yes.
The first record of the existence of the Larendale Club was the Larendale Boat Club of all things.
Yep, that's true. Great. When we get this one look that Jake Lane's going to pull up where we see the Larendale screen, we're going to see that date. So I may have cheated. This was an open book test for me, but I saw 1872. There it is.
Lake Roland, and they moved up the road, Ruxton, Maryland. Beautiful, beautiful facility there. All those courts, tennis, paddle, pool. I remember bowling, the duck pin bowling. They've got duck pin bowling leagues there.
They do. Really a unique club, right? No golf. It's really a rackets club. It's a racket players club. They have a great, other social activities from their dining room to the bowling, as you mentioned, a great swim community at Larendale as well. And they've really done a lot, not only to support their membership and grow the game at the club, but they're truly the epicenter of Baltimore paddle. They host a lot of our league championships. We try to give back to the club as well and support them to, in reverse support us. But yeah, it's exciting. Larendale's been a huge part of this community, and with the now leadership of Nobu Tanaka as the director of rackets, it's exciting to see, the level of all the membership sort of benefiting from having somebody like Nobu really working on not only the youth programs but the men's and women's programs.
Hey, and going back in history, how about John Harine in the APTA Hall of Fame, former APTA president? Great giver back. He helped grow platform tennis in your area big time for years and years and years. And he was acknowledged with his induction into the Hall of Fame.
Yep, played with Ho, as we call him, last week. John's near and dear to my heart, is a lefty, one of the first people in the community that I played with, and almost broke my shoulder trying to hit a slash lefty overhead like John Harine. So yeah, he's still here, a member playing at the Larendale Club.
I was trying to see if he was in the crowd over there today, Steve.
I didn't see him, but I suspect he will be here, or is here already. Baltimore's had a number of opportunities to sort of support also at the APTA level. I called a match earlier with Mark Holtschneider, his family, not only from a tennis Oh, what a backhand. The net court was an assistance, but that was an absolute ripper by Taya. So yeah, Mark Holtschneider and his family started the Pine Valley Swim and Tennis Club. They now have pickle and paddle and padel. The first padel court in Baltimore is at the Pine Valley Club. So Mark also sat on the APTA board for a number of years and does quite a bit to give back.
Oh, and I wouldn't say he sat on the board. He did everything on the board. I don't think he sat once. He was a workhorse, phenomenal APTA board member. Thanks to Mark for all of his efforts for years and years.
I have some great stories about some of my great losses in tennis, but in paddle, I've probably lost every member of the Holtschneider family at some point. Now his children are really strong Division I players. I've lost to he and his wife. I've lost to his brother Frank. So really one of the families in Baltimore that's done so much for tennis and paddle, and not just in the Baltimore community, as you mentioned.
Yeah, his impact was around the paddle country.
There's the different look. I think, we talk about mixing up the overhead, side, back, rollers, but that blitzing that we saw in the semifinals that, gave Elliott and Bursch a chance to sort of get back into the match, there it was, right? And it's just a different look. It puts a little more pressure on the volley and caught B. Lopez a little bit off guard.
Well, and I think that's what Hanisch in particular is. She's one of the best in the game in recognizing, she's got the sequence of shots, the combination. She doesn't really force it, but when there's an opening and there's a pressure moment and must-win point, my money is on Flor Hanisch in those situations. She identifies and capitalizes. Super high rate of, her ability to execute those shots. A lot of people can set themselves up, but can't deliver the finishing shot because it gets so exciting right in that moment. But she handles it. So we're at 3-all. Exactly. I expected this to be a really competitive match, Steve. We both did, and we're not disappointed here with 3-all in the first set. This is a great start for both teams. Exactly what we would expect from Hanisch and Zubori, and what we're going to grow to expect from Lopez and Page this season.
Yeah, I think not only what Page and Lopez probably wanted to draw up, right? They're the underdog. It is what it is. They come into this match, a pretty heavy underdog. But after the win in the semifinals, anything's possible. And I think if you're them, let's come out and play. Let's maintain momentum. 3-all in the first set is a great place to be, right? They could have been a number of different positions, and even though they're up 3-1 and maybe have given a game or two back here, this match is wide open.
Zubori was pretty determined to get a behind-the-back shot in there. I think that she's going to have to probably not look for that when there's a short ball against either of these women. Lopez and Page, they just can capitalize. They are so rock solid on their ground strokes. That's Flor Hanisch, far side in the deuce court. Anna Zubori, far side in the ad court. Taya Page right here with the white top in pink, and B. Lopez, deuce court in the black and pink.
Really great sort of transition, pass from Flor Hanisch. Oh, she almost got it. And, give a lot of...
But see, again, Steve... Oh, keep going, Steve. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, give credit to Page and Lopez, right? They took their medicine. They slid back. They actually had an opportunity to slide back to the net because Hanisch and Zubori did not capitalize and immediately take over the net. They just sort of patiently, stayed in position and were okay being in the backcourt. So it's just really great to see not only the firepower but the paddle IQ. I think they have Zubori and Hanisch a little bit uncertain of what to play, but they have a lot of tricks up their sleeve, so I'm excited to see the rest of this match.
Yeah, I think I've said that Lopez and Page in the beginning, like they were going to challenge Zubori because they think they can match up with their hands. And, twice in that game, you saw Zubori kind of hanging out, not really closing in on the volley. And both times she was beaten because she was kind of looking to do a behind the back shot or something versus just a routine volley. And that's because of the skill that, Page has off her ground strokes on the short ball. And Lopez. Steve, small draws this week. Draws of 16. We head to Chicago. They blow it out of the water. They have so many clubs, so many courts. They run the tournament over 3 days. Phenomenal event. Really looking forward to the charities next weekend.
I'm as well. So yeah, this is for Baltimore, growing the game and growing opportunity to play and growing the opportunity to host tournaments. For us is about courts. We have a tremendous constraint when we try to schedule interclub and all the divisions. We added a Division 5 this year in the men's side. The women's also added division on a new night. We need courts, right? So the roll and run clubs putting in 3. I think last year Larendale added their 7th or 8th. Every club, I believe, has plans for more courts. And more courts, bigger draws, right? And we're still a growing, smaller community compared to a lot of the communities in the Northeast and Chicago. So this is really a huge part of the opportunity Baltimore has to, have the multi-day, 32 draw, multi-site, PTI levels, B draws. That's sort of the aspiration, but it's a court situation that we have to grow into it. So here we see Maria Zubori just sort of taking her time, mostly playing to Taya Page in the ad court with a white top. It's been successful. Oh, she went for the ATP. I think she was there and got a little bit creative, but great hands from Flor Hanisch.
Game. Zubori Hanisch. Tied 4 games all in the first set.
All right,
Real
some
solid.
back and forth, 4-all.
Yeah, real solid hold of serve there. And as you can see, Zubori and Hanisch, as you have said, they have a plan. When they are the net team, they leave nothing to chance. They get Zubori to the left of the 2 players. Hanisch plays to the right, and then they do their thing. I think a lot of time club level players will have one player who can cover more court or have more overhead variety, but they don't pull the switch automatically. And that's the benefit of the live stream. You see the top teams and how you see they'll pick it and they'll set themselves up to take advantage of what their best skills are.
Yeah, how they dissect the court, deciding, knowing ahead of time who's taking what balls. Certainly the balls down the middle, but in the case of Anna Zubori, she was playing 80-90% of the court when they're sort of just setting out that ad attack of Taya Page. And this is what the club level players coming out to an event like this, watching the live streams, seeing the best players. It's really a different construct of how to sort of be a team and how to think about whose ball's what, because it's not perfectly natural for the person who may come from tennis, who may come from other sports or not really racket sports and is getting into this game. This type of almost I formation doesn't really make natural sense to people, but it's the right way to play.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I'd call it an I, Steve. I'd call it like a stagger, where you you have one player, and you see it in the men's game, you see it in the women's game, you see it all every top level.
Big cutter, really just setting up the cat and mouse to bring. I mentioned earlier, there's some great content, Patty, that My Paddle has. They did a cutter challenge with Johan Durant and tried to see how many out of 10 he could hit on the cutter and bring it back over the net. It's really the one kill shot we have. And I think Johan may have gotten 7 out of 10 if I'm not mistaken, but the best one, there's been a lot all day on the men's side and the women's side. B. Lopez hit one in the semifinals that was probably the best one I've ever seen. Almost came back and bounced on her own baseline. So the women really using that kill shot to their advantage.
Hey, you know, they're getting to work on it thanks to the volley machine, Steve.
Yeah, the Roll and Run Club has a volley. It is amazing how many different workouts you can program. And, my friends, some of whom, came from the tennis community, practice is really a part of tennis. It's about drilling, cross courts down the line. Practice is so important in tennis. And in paddle, we're really accustomed to playing. We show up, we warm up, we play. It's a competitive game, it's a social game, and the volley machine's really bringing an interesting level of practice into the game. Some of these shots, you can hit them 50, 100 times in a row. Cutters, drops, different types of lobs, different types of spins. You can put a lefty spin, back screen. So the volley machine is really, I think it'd revolutionize some of the player development at the club level for sure. Great position from Flor Hanisch.
See, this is what I'm talking about with Paige. She just fired 3 balls. Hanisch handled them all. But this is what I'm talking about with Lopez and Paige. When they drive, they make like 90% of their drives, which is phenomenal.
Zubori Hanisch lead 5 games to 2 set.
Yeah, then they get out of. Taya's got to read, where B. Lopez is going, where the other team's going. Zubori was at the net before she could even look, and Paige was caught a little bit off guard in what we sometimes call no man's land. But it looks like Hanisch and Zubori are getting their feet underneath them. I think they're dissecting this team a little bit. They're defending big ground strokes. You mentioned in the last point, Patty. Taya hit 3 big ground strokes at Flor Hanisch in a row, and Flor just held her ground, right? Put him back on the court. She has the skills. She has the volley. Make her hit 5, make her hit 6. They have the shots, but at some point the odds are you can't hit through 2 volleyers like Zubori and Hanisch.
Well, and as this match is developing, when the team is set up with Zubori to the left, Hanisch to the right, Hanisch has a designated role here. She's more of the volley person. And so they are sort of going to Paige knowing what she's going to do, because right here it's crystal clear. Zubori covers the lob, and Hanisch will cover the drive from Paige out of that ad court. So they've got the successful formula here kind of figured out.
You could call it their victory formation, but they can stay here all day and really decide. And there it is, right? Dissected, a couple different looks they give Taya Paige in that side, and there's not a lot of options. Flor's right on top of the net. Zubori's got the big slash overhead to cover the court, and there they go with a switch.
I just think she's just a little inexperienced over there in that ad court, and Zubori and Hanisch are capitalizing on it here in the first set. There's very little difference in this match between the two teams. I mean, they're both a phenomenal and really high-level match here, and just a little vulnerability over in that corner. On a Zubori serving. B. Lopez about to hit the return or catch it.
I see Martin Bostrom pacing behind the court. Seems to be an interested spectator here.
He's getting ready for charities. He's hoping Rams feels better by then. I think
it was
Rams had a little cramping today or a little injury.
Well, huge rule difference on which one it was. So I call the match. We weren't sure if it was a cramp. no timeout or an injury 10-minute timeout. I think we're going to call it a quad injury 10-minute timeout. And yeah, it came on pretty quick. It was a great match. They were sort of in control of that match. And, Volclair and Benkheim just sort of hung on, and they got the opportunity. And too bad for Rams. But, yeah, wish him well. Hope he's ready for charities.
So we have a set point for Hanisch and Zubori on the Zubori serve.
Game, set, Zubori Hanisch. Zubori Hanisch leaves 1 set to 0.
So, Steve, we'll be right back in just a moment after these messages right here on the APTA YouTube channel presented by Joho.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
Welcome back to the APTA Tour. We're at the Baltimore Open at the beautiful Larendale Club in Ruxton, Maryland. I'm Patty Hogan along with Steve Sullivan bringing you the women's final action where we just saw Flor Hanisch and Anna Zubori win the first set over B. Lopez and Taya Page 6-4. Steve, some thoughts?
I thought it was a great set. I loved the competitiveness. I thought Lopez and Page came out really strong. They went out to a 3-1 lead. They were playing well. They were playing super patient. They probably got a few errors from Hanisch and Zubori. And then the match tightened up. I think the errors on both sides went down. Zubori and Hanisch kind of zoned in. You mentioned how they were attacking the ad court and Taya Page in that ad court. And, yeah, I like the set. I think it's a follow-up on a great victory that Lopez and Page had in the semifinal. And I'm excited to see if anything changes up in the second set.
15 up.
Steve, when we talk about paddle all around the country, I mean, this is an incredible weekend. There are so many APTA events going all around the country. We're up in Rochester. Mandy Newell's running a great event. There's 5 different tournaments being played in Rochester. Yesterday was the Lake Forest women's event. Chelsea Mattel Middle ran that. We've got the Wilmington Fall Classic. PTI 55 Plus going on this weekend. The New England Women's PTI 35 Plus going on, run by Tournament Director Scott Slobin. Men's PTI 25 Plus Nats. Charles Leveroni is running that. The Cape Ann Paddle Club. Anywhere you look around the country, there are so many tournaments. Our APTA membership totals about 35,000. Incredible growth under, I think, the tutelage and the guidance of Amin Kaduri, our CEO of the APTA. He's done a phenomenal job, and Damian Johnston, who's down there in attendance, just took over as APTA president, and he's off to a great start following on the incredible run of 6 years from Tiernan Cavana. Our game's in great shape. There's something for everyone all around the country almost every weekend.
I mean, in addition to the tournaments, they're part of the official APTA Tour, right? These PTI events have done so much to bring more opportunity for people at all levels to compete. You know, not only the team nationals, but the PTI events. I think really in the last couple of years, a lot of people from Baltimore, they want to travel, they want to go away for a night, they want to compete against people at their same level with a chance to not only, you know, win matches, but potentially win national titles, right? We've had a number of teams from Baltimore do really well in things like the team nationals and PTI events. So, yeah, really exciting. We move
Lopez Page
we move all across the Northeast into the Midwest, also to Northern California, Colorado, down into the Southeast. So, yeah, the game seems healthy, and I know if the Mid-Atlantic area is a sign, we're still growing, so that's pretty exciting. All right, really important. Yeah, I was just going to say, really important game, Patty, following that first set, staying, in the match, not letting yourself get down a set in a couple games. So really encouraging that Pejic and Lopez start off with a one love lead here.
Yeah, there's very little separation in this first set, which is quite remarkable if you're Pejic and Lopez, that there wasn't that much separation. But I feel like Hanisch and Zubori, a little bit better plan at the net, and they're kind of sticking to a real disciplined approach for the most part. And like I said, I think that ad corner is a little bit of a vulnerable spot because Pejic, no matter how much she practices against a volley machine, when you're out there against a real live human being who's hitting that ball, it's a little different. And you can see how Zubori can just let that ball drop and bend her knees and have such leg involvement and can rotate, put so much heavy spin. That ball's just dying. Really tough to get back.
There it is. What a cutter. Unbelievable racket skills there from Anna Zubori. Yeah, I don't know that I saw much separation until there was, right? And the best teams sometimes hunker down, really tighten up their game, really get focused when they need to. You mentioned that earlier in the match, Patty, and I think that's what we saw at the end of that first set, right? 3-1 lead for Lopez and Pejic, tied up at 3-all, and then it was kind of back and forth until it wasn't. And those last 7 or 8 points of that set, you really saw a different level from Zubori and Hanisch, and you're right, the net play, the last couple positions that Zubori and Hanisch have put themselves in are really the difference maker in the last 15 minutes. Quick hold. And I like this. Take a minute, right? Think about what's happening. This is an incredibly meaningful day and match. There's a title on the line. These are not easy to come by, and they want to have a good showing following up a really big one in the semifinals. So I like the fact that they take a little bit of time, think about what's happening. It's 1-all. Paddle is a momentum sport. Things can change on a dime, and that tells me more than anything they think they can still win this match. Great dig by B. Lopez in the ad court.
People watching say, how can Lopez and Pejic, here they are, they've really only played a couple of seasons of paddle. How can they take out the 2-time national champs in the semis and be right here with other national champions? And, they have phenomenal rackets background. Lopez is from Barcelona, Spain. She teaches at Orange Lawn Club in New Jersey, and she played tennis at Columbia State University in Georgia. And as we said, she's won mixed nationals last year with Alvi. Taya Pejic, she was born in Croatia. She's married to Antonio. She teaches at Stanford Yacht Club. She played tennis, college tennis at Ole Miss. She played some pro tennis. She actually, and here's a little tidbit for you. Ready, Steve? Lopez knows Alcaraz from growing up from tennis, and Zubori knows Djokovic. Kind of a fun connection to the tennis world.
Yep, I'm a little bit goofy about following some of these players on social media and Instagram, and Zubori's very, as she should be, proud of her Serbian heritage, her relationship from juniors with Novak Djokovic. But yeah, it's great to see another connection that we have with Alcaraz and B. Lopez.
But, their strong rackets background, even though they're starting the sport of platform tennis, everybody who is a high-level tennis player, has an opportunity for this instant, incredibly a trajectory that is just unhuman-like. But that's what happens out here with these great talents coming into our game.
15.
And I think they want to compete, right? They love the adrenaline rush. They love showcasing their skills. You know, this is, for a lot of the players, this is part of their livelihood. They're invested in tennis. They're invested in paddle. They're teaching and giving back to their communities and their clubs. And, yeah, this is a great way to sort of keep, you know, their next life of competition through this great game. I mean, this is the pinnacle of this sport. And, yeah, I think there's just tremendous upside, and I think this is going to bring more and more people into the game, more and more younger people, more and more people with tennis skills. So it's really exciting to see these two competing the way they are.
So, see, this is where you see Lopez with the blue paddle is over in that ad court. And this is what I think they need to do. I think they need to do this switch. I mentioned it earlier in the first set, because I just think she is so rock solid on her screenplay. And if Zubori and Hanisch can't get errors from that spot, then it will force them to kind of change their game slightly.
Yeah, unbelievable finish that point. Zubori, she just put herself in the exact right position. We're going to see it again. Jake Lane's going to bring it up. Just, it's all about positioning, right? See her sneak in, and the volley's really simple at that point. You know, Taya Page may not have picked up on that and how she needs to sort of shift very quickly into the backcourt, and Zubori was right there, right? Simple volley into the right spot, never even made to the back screen.
You know, the other thing, I'll be curious at the net if Lopez and Page kind of focus a little more on Hanisch in that deuce court. Before Hanisch can get the good lob and blitz. Maybe going after her a little bit. And just, I think maybe let Zubori cool off a little bit in that ad court.
You know, this was one of the strategies that we saw a little bit last year, right? Burrish and Elliott. A couple of their match wins, they really went deuce side, Hanisch side. Some matches it worked, some matches it didn't work. But you're right. You know, when you see somebody who's hot, Zubori's warming up. Her movement has sort of been a differentiator in the last 10, 15 minutes and being in the right spot. Yeah, it's trying something different and making the team think differently, play differently. What a great touch lob there from Anna Zubori.
Yeah, I've seen Zubori play a lot of matches, Steven. When she's feeling it, and I think you got to take the ball out of her hands, off her paddle a little bit.
Great movement. Big backhand by B. Lopez. Not sure it was the worst shot selection, may not have been the best one, but you know, it's been successful so far. But B. Lopez, I think she saw it the second that racket went back and was in the right position.
Well, what I'm so impressed with is Lopez and Page, both of them, every short ball, they make their opponents pay every single time throughout the course of today in their play. Really, really impressive.
There it is again, right? That strategy of really dissecting that Taya Page ad court, you know, vulnerability that they've identified. I think midway through the first set, they started going there more and more. And they have so many options that give Taya Page different looks, right? It's not just the big cutter. It's side, back, it's backside. I think you're calling out an opportunity for, you know, more switching in the backcourt, but let's see how it develops here.
Well, here's the thing. They can't really wait and see too long,
No,
Steve,
right.
because we know Hanisch Zubori, they're amazing front runners in our sport. It's why they've won so much. They get the lead, and it's rare that I see teams come back on them. Where I see a lot of teams who play seem like, okay, they win the first set and then they end up going 3 where, I just think you've got to close people out when you can, and they do.
They do, yeah. Playing from the lead is a unique skill, and you're right. Now's the time. There's no let up. Every point matters. Really nice touch return there.
I mean, that was a remarkable serve that Paige just hit. Totally just jammed the body of Zubori, and Zubori took everything off it and just kind of held that shot. And, timing-wise, it just enabled her to hit that ball really wide out of the reach of Paige for that first volley. So now you see Lopez is in the ad court here. And I just think this is a much stronger setup for them right now.
And the challenge for the righty is doing something different, right? Going cross court, deuce to deuce court is not really the natural way to play. So, putting B. Lopez in the ad court, who's a better defender, she may have more options to, stay in the point. It's a different strategy to then switch it up and say, okay, now let's attack Taya in the deuce court, right? That's very.
So I think what you're saying, when 2 righties team up, it is so much easier to defend lobs coming from the ad court than a lob coming from the deuce court that goes in between, because
that's right.
You naturally have a forehand overhead when the ball's coming out of the ad court. Every cross court naturally goes to a forehand overhead, where from the deuce court, it puts you in a little bit of a pickle how you're going to defend it, shifting over more, playing some high backhand volleys, which most people don't recommend. So that's why it is so much easier to defend a lob from that ad court as 2 righties. All right, well, she's feeling it. Tough shot to pull off when you're in movement there. Zubori doesn't miss that shot when her feet are set and she kicks out that right leg and, lets the ball drop a little bit. Right there, she was kind of caught in motion. Little error there.
Yeah, that's why the first volley in paddle is so difficult, because you tend to run through it, move through it, your feet aren't settled, and I think that's what happened with Anna Zubori on that shot. She was sort of too much in motion. Her lower half was still moving, and her upper half didn't quite catch up with it.
So, Lopez, that's where she kind of, Steve, even if she made that, she had, I think it was Hanisch was right on top of the net. She wasn't going to get anything out of it, and that's what she's got to recognize as well. You might get the ball that you can hit, but you've got to see where the opening is.
So interesting exchange. I'm not sure if you could pick it up, Patty, but, Taya called the ball out super close, maybe got a little piece of the line. And Hanisch and Zubori were very clear, like that ball was in. The one that was out was 2 points ago. And I don't know if you remember, there was a down the line shot. I think Taya and B. Lopez played a ball that was a couple inches out because they were both in transition. They were spun around. So Zubori and Hanisch were nice to admit, no, this one was good. The one you gave us was 2 points ago. That one was out. Very good sportsmanship, really, social connection. There's a lot of smiles on the court, even though they're in high competition here.
And Steve, we have an umpire. Umpire will call it as they see it. If they see a player make a call, they don't agree with it, they'll instantly overrule.
Yep.
Great lob from Hanisch, and you saw the confusion again that it caused in the middle there.
Yep, it exposes 2 backhands. B didn't want it. Paige didn't want it, but was forced to take it. That's the trick of playing that deuce side.
Well, this is what Hanisch and Zubori were looking to capitalize on. Just a little bit of that indecisiveness, perhaps in the positioning of Lopez and Paige at the net. And so right there, they're just, I knew that they would just kind of lob to spots and be willing to just ride out the points, let the points build, and they knew they would get a ton of looks for their, and they've really played, very low amount of errors in this match for Zubori and Hanisch, just like their semifinal. Almost a flawless match against Morgan and Sakura. Very few errors.
Yeah, last season, right, a few chinks in the armor. They lost to Sakura and Morgan here. They lost to Burish and Elliott. It's a new start, new season. This is a not only incredibly accomplished team, but a very competitive team. They're part of the face of women's paddle and of overall paddle. They want to come out here and win. This is important. This is important to them.
Lopez Page lead 2-1 in the second set.
Yeah, so another hold, important hold. There's so many breaks in the game now because, the transition game is so big. A lot of the sport is played during warmer seasons, warmer weather, when we play these tournaments, in the early going and sometimes even March, April. It's very warm. But I just think, I just love the fight that we see in Lopez and Page. Like, they're just not going to back down, which is a phenomenal quality to them, on the court. And they met Steve playing Summer League paddle this year. I don't think they really knew each other well. They played a match, enjoyed each other's company, knew that they would be a really good team potentially, and so they teamed up for the season.
It's great when you're in a community with so many players and so many options to pair up.
Yeah.
I was asked the question earlier, how many Baltimore players are competing on the national scene? And it's a pretty low number, right? We have people like Nobu and Duncan Miller and some others that, Nate Gambino at the Country Club of York. We have some that are sort of competing on the tour level. But when you get into your neck of the woods in Jersey, in Southern Connecticut, in the Boston area, Chicago, like this is another aspect of like how do we build the game in Baltimore. It's through the opportunity to see week in and week out these types of players who are not only showing up on Thursday night for Interclub, but are investing in their clubs and their games, right, and want to compete at this highest level. So it's great to think you can just sort of pick up a player in summer paddle and now come out and compete for a title.
See, that was the shot Paige hasn't missed before now. That's where I was saying how rock solid she was when she got that shorter ball and she had the combination of drive, drive, drive. She just kind of so impressed me with just continuing to make them volley. That wasn't a great, that was a pretty bad miss right there on that drive. And maybe she's feeling the moment right here, and she knows she's over there and she knows she's going to get attacked again in that corner. And that wears on you as well.
Yeah, I agree, Patty. It may not be logical what to do with that ball, but there's only one thing you don't do, and that's put it in the net, right? And, Zubori and Hanisch's volleys are so solid. They're always in the right position. There's not a lot of gain from that, and I think, the worst thing to do is put it in the net, make the mistake. But, this is a big moment. It's not surprising there may be a little bit of pressure. But they're leading 2-1, right? This is still a winnable set.
If Yogi Berra ever watched paddle, he would say you can never win the points that go in the net.
There you go. And that's a little bit of the difference there. B. Lopez just put her club face behind the ball and put it back on the court for one more opportunity. Right? Didn't try to do anything, didn't try to generate offense. And here they are, 10 shots later, they're still competing in this point.
Their tennis background allows them naturally to be competitive. It doesn't matter what their sport they're playing. I'm sure they could be playing cornhole and they would be competitive and they would understand, when you have to keep the score close, and that's the beauty that these high-level tennis players coming into the game. That's the advantage they have in picking up the sport of platform tennis.
And I know some people have started playing some pickleball. I think Flourish and Zubori are playing padel at a really high level, and it's all about that opportunity to have high-level competition that has been a part of their life, right? Sport, tennis, rackets. It's just such an amazing opportunity, and we are the beneficiaries of these great athletes continuing to play not only the sport we love, and but now it's a great chance to learn from them. They're really a great example.
Advantage, Hanisch.
Really a good cutter, little overhead slash shot that Zubori just hit. She held the shot again. That's what she does. She holds it so long and really caused both players to be uncertain as to who should go for the next ball. And
In the second set, ladies ball team.
Yeah, definitely some intrigued spectators. I can see Mark Bostrom walking back and forth. He seems intrigued to figure out what the score is, watching every point, right? His significant other competing, Floor Hanisch. Yeah, great environment at the Larendale Club. I think the stands are full. There's another hill that's not on camera that has a full group of spectators. It looks like we have another men's match on court 1 next to this. So really a great atmosphere here at the Larendale Club.
following this match will be the men's finals.
15.
What are we going to see in that, Steve?
Well, we're going to see the two of the top players in the country.
Love, 30.
We're going to see Jose Salazar, and Guillermo Nunez against, I need to look to see who won that other semifinal match. Eric West and Tyler Frazier.
A
They
new
had
combination of great players. That'll be exciting.
Yeah, Eric West and Tyler Frazier had a great semifinal match against Bentheim and Vauclair. Parts of it were competitive, parts of it were just them, incredibly solid, not only from the net, but from the back as well. So that's going to be a really great men's final that's going to follow us here.
Zubori Hanisch lead 3 games to 2 in the second set.
Corient is the official well sponsor of the APTA's 2024-2025 season. Corient is a fee-only wealth manager who puts their clients at the center of everything they do. Learn more at corient.com.
So, Anna Zubori serving. About to serve here. Up 3-2. Second set. Women's finals from Baltimore. Hanisch Zubori won the first set, 6-4. I'm Patty Hogan along with Steve Sullivan. Baltimore's own Steve Sullivan calling the action.
So down 1-0, down 2-1. Now, you mentioned it before, this team of Hanisch and Zubori like to play from the lead. They're very successful when playing from lead, and now they have the 3-2 advantage. So let's see what Lopez and Page can do here to sort of change the momentum back.
Well, I kind of feel like, are Zubori and Hanisch going to let them? You know what I mean, Steve? Sometimes you watch matches and you're like, okay, they're a tactic or two away from really changing things up. But that's the thing about Hanisch and Zubori. They're so rock solid that's what I'm saying. When they get the lead, they pounce. They keep their foot on the gas.
Absolutely, and I think this is what we're going to likely see in the next few games. Not only do they have all the skills and all the experience of what they've accomplished in this sport, but in this match, you can clearly see the energy level. They may have started off a little bit lower energy, not communicating as much. They were making a few errors in the beginnings of the first set. Everything in the last 20 minutes has sort of changed. Not only their net play, but how they're dissecting Page and Lopez in the backcourt. I think you're right, Patty. Like, this is, maybe it's not a choice of Page and Lopez to buckle down and find their way back in. I think Hanisch and Zubori are going to have a lot to do with it, and most likely this is when they're going to hit the accelerator. You know, the danger of, where Lopez and Page sit, great ball, is that they try to press. Now, they're not pressing yet. Once you start pressing, once you start generating the offense, things can slip away really, really fast. So Anna Zubori here, 30-15 with a 3-2 lead in the second set.
And that was a gift from Anna Zubori.
Yeah, it was a gift. The variation is one of their strengths, but at the end of the day, that was maybe a little too much overthinking, how to play and how to attack that corner.
And you know what, Paige, in that point, threw up a pretty high lob off her backhand, and I would love to see that a little bit more of. The short lobs are what just feeds right into the overhead variety that Zubori can tap into, on demand. I'd like to hit this. I'd like to hit that. And she can do it. It's all dependent on the short lobbing. So if you can lob it higher, a little bit deeper, it will take away Hanisch and Zubori, and particularly Zubori's ability to go after Page in that at-court corner.
Great positioning from Floor Hanisch there.
See, I love the height right there from Page on that shot. And that kind of slowed down, took a little bit of the firepower away from Zubori on her next overhead.
And it gives her a chance, right? It gives her another second and a half to sort of regroup and figure out her positioning in the backcourt. But, as that last shot proved, Zubori and Hanisch can keep going back to the well. She's going to have to dig her way out of 7 or 8 of those every point.
Yeah, Paige is really trying to lob that ball up the line, cause some confusion.
What a cutter by Anna Zubori. She wants it from the crowd. Let's see if Mr. Mark Innes can bring this up again. Here we go. Yeah, really indecisive about trying to take that net over, and Zubori just ended it. Great kill shot. Big point. Lopez and Page have had a couple game points. They weren't able to capitalize, and now we have a point for 4-2 with Anna Zubori serving.
Yeah, and in that last point, you saw Page really trying to get that lob up the line over Hanisch's head. It didn't work out on the last point, but that time she did force the overhead error.
All right, another opportunity. Taya Lopez returning the at-court, break points, equalize this second set at 3-all. Let's see.
Yeah, they need it. Lopez and Page need this. They need this game. I kind of feel this would be a tough one if Hanisch and Zubori hold on here. Great rip from that out-court from Page. Force the volley error. There we go, Steve. 3-all.
Yeah. Here we go. I mean, there's a big crowd. This is what they're looking for. That's a huge forehand, Taya Page. This is what they want to see, competition. They're trying to get the crowd engaged, you know. Anna Zubori trying to get the crowd into the last game. It's a really good opportunity for not only the Larendale, but the overall Baltimore membership to see some really good paddle here tonight.
Yeah, kind of surprised at an overhead from Zubori. She hung it out there. She didn't hit it hard enough or with enough spin, and it just fed right into Pejic, and she just crushed the winner through the middle. But I think, I mean, she did a beautiful, beautiful shot, but Zubori should get the assist for giving her.
Oh, what a great stretch from Hanisch. A really strong nick out of the corner, and that was a one-step lunge from Floor Hanisch to get that ball back in the court.
See, again, Hanisch is going to the middle, Steve, trying to cause some confusion. Beautiful lob up the line.
Oh.
Oh, phenomenal.
I think I saw B. Lopez exhale after that last dig. Oh, it only felt right that there was a nick at the end of that point. Let's take another look here. Yeah, you can't let that one go. On it 2 times, he's going to hit it at least once. All right, a little bit of a hole. Love 30.
Yeah, and you learn, you know, when the ball's going in your partner's corner, Pejic had to really trail the play over in that deuce court.
Yeah.
That ball flew out. She'll cover that in the future. Guaranteed.
Exactly. That shouldn't need a help or, you know, a call. She's got to read that. You're right. Oh, a great deep lob. And here comes Anna Zubori.
So fun watching Zubori prepare for her overhead, Steve.
Well, she has so many options.
Changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing. She has so much time and uses that time to make the grip changes and picks the highest percentage overhead she can hit from in that moment.
Yeah, this is, you know, for a community like Baltimore, to have more pros, more competing pros, have the access to a volley machine. You know, there's also great content. My Paddle's got a lot of content to sort of see these players dissect plays, dissect shots. You know, there's been a lot of good content on how to hit rollers by, you know, some of the top pros. It's really a learning opportunity. This is why Baltimore wants to invest in this event, is to help the community, you know, get better through this exposure to just the best of the game.
4 games to 3 in the second set.
So Hanisch Zubori up 4-3, second set, finals from Baltimore. Next up, next weekend, Chicago Charities, great 3-day event. I believe Jason Love is the tournament director out there, Steve. And I'm sure we'll get most of the game's top players traveling to Chicago for the first Grand Slam event on the APTA Tour of the 24-25 season.
Yeah, we're still early, but we are sort of getting into pole position. Chicago Charities is typically one of those moments in the season that everybody shows up for. Everybody knows we're in season. The first couple events can be hit or miss. This is a really strong turnout in Baltimore. But if you're playing, if you're competing throughout the season, if you want a seat in the Nationals at the end of the season, you're going to play Chicago Charities. So a great, you know, celebration of this sport out in Chicago next week. Encourage people to tune in. I'm sure we'll have lots of great content on the YouTube ATPA network. So yeah, looking forward to it.
And the Grand Slams, the points you can earn, I believe, are double in Grand Slams, Steve. Or, you know, it's significant, and it's, you know, the players, they need those ranking points. That determines their seeds. And so the points are way increased in Grand Slam events. So that's another reason why you see all the top players go.
There again, that ad court dissecting Taya Pejic in that ad court is one of the things that may have changed the momentum a little bit in the first set. And they're gonna absolute rifle of return from Taya Pejic.
I mean, she just loves that forehand. I love that forehand.
I would love that forehand. And at the end of the day, Zubori and Hanisch just, took their medicine, slid back, let the screen diffuse the spin and the pace, and work their way back into the point and cause the error. A lot of club players chase those balls or think they have to hit those balls. I'm not sure Hanisch and Zubori had the option there, but the reality is there's nothing wrong with letting those balls, fly through, give up the net, let it come off the screen, and start the point over. Misread that one. Zigged when she should have zagged.
Hey, it's so tough. It was headed right for that corner.
Yeah.
Just the inexperience. And when you don't know, you just go and commit up the side screen. And big hold right there for Flor Hanisch and Hana Zubori up 5-3. Second set, the women's finals from the Larendale Club. That's B. Lopez serving. Zubori's about to hit the return.
Tough to stay in the match. This is the first, series of points where we really see these two a little bit deflated. Obviously now having to dig out of a 5-3 deficit. Near impossible, but you can see a little bit of defeat. A little bit of energy's lost from Lopez and Pejic here. And now we're at double match point. There we go. 6-3, 6-4, 6-3. Zubori and Hanisch, the second annual Baltimore Open. Really a great finish to a hard-fought match.
Steve, will we be going to an on-court interview, or will we be wrapping this up and then?
No, we're gonna stay here for a second. Sam Byram, tournament director, co-tournament director with Nobu Tanaka. We're gonna go down to the court for a minute for a little bit of a trophy celebration. Not yet. Just want to give another really big shout out, Patty, the local sponsors, the support of this event. In more than one way. One way is certainly supporting the prize money, which helps us attract the best players, but also put on a great event, the Larendale Club. So 4Paddle, the Larendale Club, M4 Paddle, MDP Insurance, Ripple Branding, the Seed School of Maryland, Stiefel, T. Rowe Price, Willpower PT, and Xenon, the official ball sponsor this week at the Baltimore Open. We couldn't do it. We couldn't put on this event. We couldn't attract the best of the best talent to Baltimore without these companies that are really giving back to, not only the community of Baltimore, but really this great game that we're trying to grow, in this community. So really big thanks to them. So what do you think, Patty? Any big takeaways? Exciting day. I think it was a big day for Lopez and Pejic, but a little bit too much on the other side of the net today.
Yeah, great day for Lopez and Pejic. Huge win. I mean, they took out the country's number 5 team, Delmonico Gebbia. They took out our 2-time defending national champion, Burris and Elliott. I would say phenomenal tournament. Hanisch and Zubori, they started out exactly how I thought they would. They're a phenomenal team, and I just think it bodes well for the season as it develops here.
Yeah, I like the storyline. Yeah, I like the storyline. Yeah. We have Lynn Burris, a last-minute, unfortunate withdrawal last year. Vera Besanova jumped in her spot to play with Macy Elliott. The 3 top teams in the country. Morgan Sikora, you mentioned earlier, calling one of their matches. This is really exciting, and I like the setup. So we're going to take it down to the court. Sam Byram, tournament director, is going to walk us through a little bit of a celebration and
do I just call them over?
Awarding of the trophies. So let's give him a second here to get organized.
Hi, this is Sam Byram coming from the Baltimore Open. We just had our ladies final, an awesome match. First, I'd like to bring the finalists over, B. Lopez and T. Pejic. Thank you so much for coming down to Baltimore. We really appreciate your committing to this tournament. I hope you had a good time. You had an amazing tournament. You knocked off the number 1 seeds in the semis in a phenomenal match. I had a tough final, but I hope you had a good time. And what were the keys to your tournament today?
I think overall it was a great tournament. I want to first congratulate Anna and Flor. Amazing team, and they stay super solid as always. So they're a very tough team. But yeah, I think we fell short in the final. We ran out of gas a little bit. But overall, it was a good tournament. A little bit more experience, but we'll get there. It was super fun.
Yeah, I agree with everything B said. I think we knew that we were capable of doing what we did, so we weren't totally surprised by it. But again, I feel like we just need more experience of doing this over and over and over again, and so we can keep going from beginning to an end on each tournament. So yeah.
Well, you had a great tournament. Thank you so much for coming, and congratulations.
I want to thank you guys for the organization. It's an amazing setup. So thank you, Sam, and all your team. It's an amazing tournament, super fun.
Thank you so much.
I would like to say one more thing.
Yes.
Hi to Orange Lawn Tennis Club, and thank you for all the support I had throughout the tournament. You guys are the best. Rocco LTC.
And thank you for staying for the yacht club as well. Hi to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now our winners, Anna Zubori and Florentina Hanisch. They make it over here safely.
Yes, we tried.
Again, thank you for coming down to Baltimore for your second time. Last year, you lost in a final against Allison Morgan.
Do we have
and
to
Charlotte.
Talk about this
well, now we talk about what the good stuff. And Charlotte Sikora in a 3-set match. You came back today. You beat them in the semis and just played outstanding paddle all day long. And tell us a little bit about your strategy going in for the final.
We're very excited coming to Baltimore. We've been practicing a lot. We know the first few tournaments of the season, there's a little bit more mistakes, a lot of transition. So we really came with a strategy set of being okay with transitions and being patient, and I think it paid off.
I mean, for us, it's like kids going on a school trip. So we always have fun, and it's the whole experience, driving together, practicing, just sharing this love for the game with the community. You guys are amazing. The organization, you, Sam, everyone, I think it's a big party. Very excited to see such a good new team coming up. I'm cheering for them, and I think it's great for the game. They're so talented and so fun to watch and play. So looking forward to seeing them more, and they have a great career ahead of them. And but we're we're trying to hang on with this new gen, and hopefully you can still hang in there. But it's just I know it's a lot of positives now that we won. I think the speech would have been the same had we lost, and we're definitely coming back next year. You know that we're first ones to sign up, and thanks APTA, My Paddle, Marquinhos, Jackie, and everyone who is really working. It's a long day for you guys. I don't know how you do it, and thank you for everything you do for the game.
Well, we certainly appreciate it and your commitment and all the top ladies teams coming down here to Baltimore, starting in year one, now following up in year two. We really appreciate it. You know, we do things a little unusual here in Baltimore with the prizes. So last year were the platters, and this year are some little mini solo stoves for your decks. So
thank you so much.
we are wrapping up the ladies' final now, and stay tuned for the men's final coming up between Jose Salazar, Guillermo Nunez, Tyler Frazier, and Eric West. Thanks, everybody.
So, Steve, that's a wrap from the APTA. We'll hope you stay tuned and join us for the men's final. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks so much.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
What does a good investment opportunity look like? At T. Rowe Price, we let curiosity light the way, asking smart questions about opportunities like clean water and what promising new treatment advances can make a new tomorrow possible. Better questions, better outcomes.
Hey guys, I'm Dan Hansen. I teach paddle at the Sonjin Como, and I'm an engineer as well. Today I'm going to give a tip about the cut overhead. So a lot of people ask me about how to hit the cutter. So the first thing I'll talk about is the grip. So from continental, I like to move it over just a little bit, almost like an extreme continental grip. And then for the overhead, I let the ball drop, and I'm coming underneath the ball to get more spin on it. I'm Dan Hansen. I hope you enjoyed that tip of the week. See you on the court.